And the time is now 12 minutes past 12. Thank you for staying with us here on CNA 938.
Talk to us anytime. WhatsApp CNA 938 on 963 11938.
Welcome into Our Town Saturday. This is Weekend Life. I'm Susan Ng. Senior volunteerism is what we're going to be talking about today. If you find yourself with some time on your hands, would you consider putting your hands up to be a volunteer? And it could be doing something that you have a great passion for. It could be doing something for which you've always wanted to do but never had the opportunity because you were so busy with work, with children, and maybe with the grandchildren. But I've met many volunteers from RSVP Singapore, which is an organization for senior volunteers, and I've met many of the volunteers who've actually come in to put their old skills to good use. People who used to run organizations have come in to sit on boards. They have come in to lead committees, organize events, fundraisers, and things like that. There's always something for everyone, I believe, and you don't have to learn a new skill to be a volunteer. You can just walk in and say, you know what, I'm great at cooking. Maybe you need someone to do something like that. So today, we're going to talk about senior volunteerism. We're going to find out the work of RSVP Singapore and what the landscape for senior volunteerism is like in Singapore, and also share with you some tips and ideas on what you can do to start off on your volunteer journey. And there's an open house coming up in January. We'll tell you about that as well. So on Our Town Saturday today, we meet Genevieve Chua. Genevieve is a board member with RSVP Singapore. In fact, she's the vice chairperson and honorary treasurer. Genevieve, thank you for making time to be with me today.
Pleasure to be here, Susan.
You're a board member, you're still working full-time, but this is your foray into volunteerism. But it's not new, though. You've been a volunteer for some time now.
That's right. Yeah, so I joined the board in 2017 as the honorary treasurer. And so because that's really, because of my own background, I'm an accountant by profession as well. Right now, I'm a CEO of an organization. So it was just about putting my own skills that I've acquired over the years.
An extension of your job.
Exactly.
Okay, so it was a no-brainer to do this.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, it's for good purpose as well.
Right. So it wasn't too much of a stretch for you to step into that role.
Not at all.
But now you're also the vice chair.
That's right. And in addition, on what's really been exciting, it's falling on something, a passion of mine, which has always been in health and wellness. And for example, this year, me and my volunteers, we started a dementia prevention program for seniors. So that's been extremely exciting, and it's an extension of my passion, not just but putting my professional skills to good use, but to really help seniors on this journey to better health.
So passion plus your skills would then lead you to a more exciting, more fulfilling volunteer journey. Would you say that?
Absolutely. That's
okay.
right.
So you see yourself continuing to be a volunteer for some time now, because you've actually been a volunteer with other organizations as well, not just RSVP. This is not your first foray into volunteerism.
No. For example, I mean, I've helped in different capacities as well. I've also been, for example, I used to choreograph dances for the deaf when I was in school.
Wow.
Yeah. So since that was because again, dance was also a passion of mine previously, and so that's why I could put that to use. And could choreograph dances for them, and also to help with an organization that helps with the slum dwellers in Indonesia and all that. So it's just in whichever capacity I could help. It's
and sustainability is another of your passions,
right.
and so you volunteered there as well.
Oh yes. In that for example, I mean, I talk about sustainable options, even from a business. Actually, it gels very well with what I believe in. Yeah.
Do you find time to work at some point?
Absolutely. So that's the day job that pays the bills. So definitely, yes.
And that's the thing.
It's about making time.
Yes, it is about making time, and it's for everyone. Someone said to me one time, you will never find time, You've got to make the time. And for many organizations now, social service agencies, social enterprises, any group that welcomes volunteers, I think that is important. For someone like you, Genevieve, you still work. You just need to make the time to be able to attend maybe 6 meetings a year, whatever it might be. But if that's all you can give, then that's all I want from you, because I need your expertise.
Right.
And I think organizations are more and more open to people like yourselves who will come in and say, you know, I can come to you 12 times a year. And that's kind of it. I can't show up once a week, every week. But someone who's gone the other way from you, Genevieve, he used to work full time. He used to run your own business and everything. And then you retired in 2013 and became a full-time volunteer. Gurdip Singh is with us today. Gurdip, thank you very much for making time and taking yourself away from your grandchildren to be here.
It's good.
You retired in 2013, gave yourself a 2-year break, and then decided, you know what, I've got to do something. What was that thing that got you to move into volunteerism with RSVP?
You see, when I retired in 2013, it was a fantastic time. My wife and me traveled like every month we were out. You know, the bucket list, we tried to.
Yes.
But after some time, even that lost its appeal. And you realize that there is more to life than just spending your money or going somewhere. That sense of satisfaction and purpose was missing. So I decided that it's time to maybe do a bit of voluntary work, but I didn't know what to do. The problem with me is that I've always been my own boss.
Yes.
So I don't know whether I would be able to fit in a position where I am told to do things. So I spoke to my younger daughter, and she told me, Dad, go and volunteer, but remember one important thing, that now you are not the boss. You are just a little dot in a big white canvas. But go there, do what you can do, and enjoy yourself. And that's why I checked up on RSVP. Actually, I like their name because it reminded me in my childhood days, RSVP used to be Remember Send Valuable Presents. For some reason, it stuck in my head. But it was good. And I found that they have so many places where I could actually volunteer. I actually started with, at that time, RSVP was doing a project with Changi Airport.
Yes.
And I felt that was an extension of what I used to do because I
was
used
it
to
the
deal.
ambassador program?
Yes, the senior ambassador program. So because it was an extension of what I used to do, I used to sell luggage. I used to run a retail luggage shop. What
Okay.
can be better or more comfortable for me than to
go
be
back
in
to
the
the
airport,
airport.
where I see all brands. Until today, I know which is the better seller because, you see people carrying luggage.
Yes.
So I'm still very, very passionate about that.
Right.
After all, I did it for 41 years.
Wow.
So it's not something you can take away, The
Yeah.
passion is still there, really.
But you know what? I'm glad you managed to fulfill many of the items on your bucket list.
Yes.
Because, you do want to live life. In a
Correct.
way, you want to live it, especially with your wife. If you've been running your own business,
Yeah.
finally you get some time with
Finally,
her.
yes, yeah.
And you've done that. But again, you want to have a sense of purpose. And so that purpose has turned into full-time volunteering for you. But you also care for, look after, and are with your grandchildren.
You see, when I retired, somehow it was at the right time. My first granddaughter came about 3 years in my retirement. She's like going to be 4 next year. Then a pair of twins came, a boy and a girl. So I have 3 grandchildren now. And they are quite a handful when they get all together. But it is a joy that actually I missed. Because when my children were young, I never got time to spend with them. I missed a lot of their growing up periods of their life, important because of work commitment. In a retail atmosphere, you are like stuck from morning 7 to 9 o'clock at night. You miss the kids all those important times in their life. But now I have all that time again.
Yeah, you know what? You're not the first, and I'm sure, Genevieve, you've heard this time and time again from many grandparents who've actually said exactly what you've just said. Through their grandchildren, they're now reliving their parental roles all
Correct.
over again. They never had them because you were working so hard to provide for the family. You were gone half the time. So we're going to continue our chat about senior volunteerism and have a look at the landscape in Singapore, what it's like. If you want to talk to us, you can. You can call us at 669-11938 or you can WhatsApp your messages, your comments, your questions to 963-11938. Our Facebook post is up as well. You can send us your comments through Facebook. All right, on the roads, we are seeing heavy traffic at Woodlands checkpoint, both directions. Heavy traffic leaving Singapore at the Tuas checkpoint. Vehicle breakdown, ECP heading towards Changi Airport after Marine Vista exit on lane 4. Also an accident on the PIE, and this is towards Changi Airport after Bukit Batok Road. Drive safely.
This is CNA 938, streaming 24/7 on CNA.Asia and on Me Radio, which in January becomes Me Listen. Me Listen.
Talk to us anytime. Call CNA 938 on 669 11938.
Senior volunteers and senior volunteerism is our focus today. Genevieve and Gurdip are with me today. They're both with RSVP Singapore's volunteers. There is lots of scope for all of us to do something in the community, and I always believe that we need to start small. We need to start doing things that we know that we are good at, because that's one sure way to be able to do it over and over again. Well, that's my philosophy for volunteering. If I had to learn a new skill just to volunteer, I may not be able to cope. And so my mom was a volunteer. She was cooking for a kitchen at a welfare home for some time until she got a little bit too frail to lift the heavy pots. But that's what she enjoyed at the time. So let's look, Genevieve, at the landscape of volunteering in Singapore. What do you at RSVP see?
Well, we can see that, as we all know, it's a stark reality that Singapore is a rapidly aging population. We have this huge silver tsunami coming on, and I think by 2030, we're going to look at something like 1 in 4 Singaporeans expected to be 65 or older. So it's about really preparing our population for this next wave and to remain active and age actively and healthily. Based on the findings also of the National Volunteer and Philanthropy Centre's Civil Volunteerism Study, I think that was last year, and it was found that it was only 22% of seniors that volunteer, and sadly only 59% have never volunteered. But at the same time, it was also found that seniors aged 50 to 64, beyond a healthy lifestyle and seeking financial security, they also want to give. So that really is hopeful for the future, and this is something that we need to prepare, and having that route for people like myself, actually, this baby boomer age, to be able to give.
So 59% of people have never volunteered. What do you think holds them back? Is it uncertainty? Is it because they're afraid? They don't know what to do, where to go?
I think it's not so much being afraid, but also about maybe time commitment is one of the things. So which is why, like at RSVP, we've started something called episodic volunteering, which allows you to give your time as and when you are able to. So that I think would be an excellent way for people to start as well.
Is this gaining more popularity?
Yeah, absolutely. This is an area that gives people time to do that. To give on one hand, but at the same time to be able to have time for their own activities.
Yeah, care for family or travel and things like that.
Like Gurdip said, you like to travel. So but at the same time you find that's the option too.
That's right. So episodic volunteering perhaps is the way to go into the future. And for some people, they aren't able to show up every Tuesday for the next 6 months, for example. Gurdip, do you find that is true? Because you've got 3 grandkids now, and it gives you the freedom to say, you know what, I'm available the next 4 Saturdays, but then after that, because it's the school holidays and the kids are with me, then I'm not available.
Yes, definitely. Because I have committed with RSVP for a few things, but I also take up this episodic stick as and when I need, because certain days of the week I'm tied up with my grandkids.
Yes.
So I cannot do anything on that day because I pick them up in the morning and I drop them at home late. That's twice a week. So it's a full day. So on that day, there's no other commitments except them. So on other days, if I'm free and there's an event coming up with RSVP, be it being an MC at the open house or at the AGM or something, whatever I can do, I'm definitely open to it.
So RSVP Singapore gives you many avenues for you to volunteer.
Yes, it does.
And it's almost like a menu you can choose from.
Correct. Because whatever your interest lies, they have something. So anybody who wants to volunteer just needs to come up to RSVP and look at their list. Even when I started, I was very apprehensive because I didn't know. I want to volunteer, but I didn't know what to do. So when I looked up and I spoke to RSVP, I found out that, there are certain things that I can do. And then again, it's a new learning journey. I just don't want to do those things that I've been doing. Like I was in the retail sector.
So you didn't want to do the same things
I want something a little bit different, a bit more challenging.
Yeah.
So that's why I went into guiding. So I've guided at URA, I've done at the Geylang Serai Heritage Gallery.
Yes, the art museum too.
I just started with the art museum.
Wow.
For me, art, especially modern art, is something I don't understand a lot. But I thought, what can be the harm? Let's go and try and see. Maybe it might click somewhere,
And
so
it did.
I would definitely,
It did, and here you are.
Yeah.
Is this what you would like to see more of, Genevieve, at RSVP? For people like Gurdip, who they kind of don't know what they want to do, but they want to do something, and they just step forward.
Yeah, which is why, you come to the open house, you'll be able to learn a bit more. But just extend on what you were asking me just now. So it's not just about, just trying something new. Gurdip was game for that. But a lot of, we find also people who are from the professional, people like myself,
Yes.
who are able to extend their skills to the organization or even their interests. So we've got people, who are doing even photography, video, even setting up interest groups within the organization in line dance, in ukulele, all the various things. And I've got cool seniors who even started learning things like drone programming, and that was quite awesome.
You know what? I actually met someone from RSVP who was telling me about drone programming and iPhone video editing, something like that. So how cool is that, right? If you want to find out more about the activities of the volunteers at RSVP Singapore, stay with us. We're going to share more information about their open house, which happens on Wednesday, the 15th of January. This is Our Town Saturday. My guests today are Genevieve Chua, board member of RSVP Singapore, and Gurdip Singh, who's a volunteer with RSVP. Stay with us. And on the roads, we see heavy traffic, CTE towards the SLE. This is between Bradle Road exit and Ang Mo Kio Avenue 1 exit. If you're on the roads right now, please, I do urge you to drive safely.
Keep moving with LTA Traffic.
If you're involved in an accident where no one is hurt, do move your vehicle to the shoulder or to a safe place before exchanging particulars. For safety reasons, please refrain from obstructing traffic.
Hey, any plans on 9th to 12th January?
Big plans! I'm going to the Singapore Motor Show.
When is it?
The Singapore Motor Show is on 9th to 12th January at Suntec Singapore.
Cool!
There are so many new cars with fantastic deals, fun games for the whole family, and awesome performances by stunt driver Russ Swift. Plus, you'll get to meet your favorite MediaCorp artist.
Then I shouldn't miss it.
Singapore Motor Show 2020, 9th to 12th January, Suntec Singapore. Tickets available on site.
Don't miss it!
This is CNA 938. Understand Asia.
It's 12:30 on Weekend Life. 6 more protesters died in fresh clashes with Indian police over a controversial citizenship law for minorities. The citizenship law makes it easier for minorities from 3 neighbouring countries who are non-Muslims to gain citizenship. Protests had erupted across the northern state of Uttar Pradesh after Friday prayers. Police fired pellet guns and tear gas when protesters started pelting stones at them. Reports said 5 of the demonstrators died of gunshot wounds. But officers insisted none of the protesters were killed in police firing, as they did not shoot even a single bullet. Demonstrations also broke out at Jama Masjid in New Delhi. Thousands rallied outside the iconic mosque after Friday prayers. Police used water cannons to disperse the crowds after about 100 protesters began stone pelting. Swiss-Dutch company Allseas says it has suspended work on building a major Russia to Germany natural gas pipeline. This is to avoid U.S. sanctions contained in legislation signed by U.S. President Donald Trump. The sanctions target firms that are part of the $11 billion Nord Stream 2 pipeline under the Baltic Sea, which delivers gas from Russia to Germany. Washington is concerned that the pipeline will give Russian President Vladimir Putin a stronger grip on Europe. The move throws the project's completion date into doubt, as Moscow had earlier said it would be ready in months. It also jeopardizes Russia's plans to quickly expand sales of natural gas to Europe via the pipeline. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the U.S. is firmly opposed to an international criminal court probe into alleged war crimes by its top ally Israel. The court's chief prosecutor Fatou Bensouda has announced that a full investigation will be opened to look into alleged war crimes in the Palestinian territories. The announcement opens the possibility of charges being filed against Israelis or Palestinians. The Palestinians welcomed the decision, but Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, whose country captured the West Bank and Gaza Strip in a 1967 war, says the ICC had no jurisdiction to investigate the Palestinian territories. It's not clear when a decision will be made. Ms. Bensouda says she had asked the court to rule expeditiously and to allow potential victims to participate in the proceedings. Uzbekistan has undergone radical changes since the death of dictator Islam Karimov, who led the country from the late Soviet era until 2016. The government is now courting foreign investors, hoping to prove that Uzbekistan is a safe place to do business. But as Julia Chapman reports from the capital Tashkent, it's a long road from dictatorship to democracy.
Over the last 3 years, Uzbekistan has changed its tune. For decades, this was an isolated, authoritarian country. But the death of dictator Islam Karimov set the former Soviet republic on a new path. His successor has overseen a period of swift reform, redirecting the economy from state-led to market-driven. It's a message the government is keen to get across. So it started allowing in journalists to deliver the new sales pitch. To achieve its ambitious goals, the Uzbek government needs foreign capital. But after so many years of isolation, investors are approaching with caution. The regulatory landscape is a long way from reaching international standards, and the country still does poorly in corruption perception rankings. But with 30 state-owned companies in the process of being privatized, there are tempting opportunities here.
There's no doubt that there's an overwhelming sense of optimism in Uzbekistan. In the last 3 years, the country has opened up to the world in ways few could have predicted. But the challenge now is to translate intention into implementation.
While economic reform is moving forward, political and judicial reforms are dragging behind. Much of the country's government is still made up of the old guard. Analysts say civil society is in its infancy, leaving rule of law undermined and local media intimidated. Uzbekistan is about to hold its first parliamentary elections of the new era. It's hoped that the process will breathe new life into the rubber-stamped legislature. The country has never held a vote deemed to be democratic. The December 22nd elections will be the first major test of Uzbekistan's commitment to change.
That report by Julia Chapman. It's official, the US has created its Space Force. This is the first new military service in the country in more than 70 years. It's part of a $1.4 trillion defense bill signed by US President Donald Trump, and it also includes over $700 billion in funding for the country's military in the upcoming year. The force is not intended to put combat troops in space. Rather, it will allow the US to more effectively organize the defense of its interests in space, especially its navigation and communication satellites. That's the news on CNA 938. I'm Justine Moss. Headlines anytime at cna.asia.
All right, let's go to the roads. We do have an accident to tell you about, and this one is on the AYE heading towards the MCE after Buena Vista exit. You're advised to avoid lane 1. Another accident on the AYE towards the MCE. This is at Alexandra. Also, you're advised to avoid lane 1 here. And a vehicle breakdown on the PIE heading towards Tuas after the CTE City exit. If you're on the roads right now, please, I do urge you to drive safely.
On the road with LTA traffic.
If your vehicle breaks down on the expressway, stop your vehicle at the road shoulder and switch on the vehicle hazard lights to alert other drivers. For your own safety, please stay ahead of your vehicle and behind the guardrail if possible.
And the time is now 12:36. Thank you for staying with us on CNA 938.
Talk to us anytime. WhatsApp CNA 938 on 963 11938.
Welcome back into Our Town Saturday on Weekend Life. I'm Susan Ng. Thank you for your company today. And as you begin to enjoy the weekend and maybe time with your children towards the end of the year and also soaking in the festivities for year's end, you might find yourself with some time on your hands. Maybe not right away. Maybe as you plan for 2020 and beyond, you might say, well, you know what? I'd like to do something. I'm not sure what it is I'd like to do, but I'd like to extend a hand of help or a hand of hope to someone who might need my expertise or my skills or even my cheerful smile as I walk into the room. Well, RSVP Singapore is who we're talking about today and with, and they have a whole slew of volunteer opportunities for anyone. And I guess safe to say that if you walked in with a heart to help, like my guest, Gurdip Singh, you'll find something to do. Genevieve Chua is also with me. Genevieve is a board member with RSVP, and she also walked in the first place to lend her expertise. You work in the finance industry, so the role as honorary treasurer isn't too far off from the work that you do, so it was great. But now you're also a vice chairperson of RSVP. Gurdip retired several years ago, 2 years after he retired, after all that bucket list ticking off was done with your wife, and you've traveled the world. You decided there was something you needed. You mentioned words like passion, skills, satisfaction, and purpose. And this is what your volunteers are looking for, aren't they, Genevieve, when they walk in? They don't know what they want, but this is what they say they want.
Yes, correct. So, I mean, they're trying to find a place where they can volunteer their time, but some, like I said earlier, like we were talking about earlier, they don't want to be able to commit like fully. So which is why it's a great place to come and see, you know, where we can, there's various activities we have. For example, it's not just in guiding that Gurdip talked about earlier. We've also got befriending, we've got episodic volunteering, which gives people a lot of options.
Yeah, and some people like this whole befriending role because it's like an extension of yourself. Right, to be able to talk to someone and just provide friendship to that person. I mean, for someone like Gurdip, you volunteer in so many different places, and you mentioned some of the places that you volunteer at, and you find that you have found some purpose.
Definitely.
What does your family say about your volunteering?
Well, actually...
Aside from the fact that you're not the boss anymore.
Yes. No, but my children are very supportive because they feel it will keep me active, it will keep me young. And you don't just want to stay at home. How much TV can you watch anyway? And how much can you travel also? You need to have a purpose. When you get up in the morning, it's nice to know that you have a certain agenda for the day. So if every day I were to do something, that would be great because it gives me a reason to get up early. Be it to go for a walk at the beach, be it to go to, say, Willing Hearts, where I also help out. And then, of course, RSVP with its various activities. The thing about volunteering, I feel now, is that the feeling that you get when you give a little bit of yourself, a little bit of your time, is really awesome. Words can't really describe. I would say that just go for it, and you just... A smile to somebody can make their day. That alone is very satisfying. So I say I can't put it in words, but it's a fantastic feeling. And that's the only reason I still keep volunteering. Because I enjoy it tremendously.
Has your family found that you've changed since you've started to volunteer?
They feel I've learned a lot more. I've become more confident. I can speak clearly. You see, in my work, I used to do one-to-one. I have no issue. But talking to a group of people, all this RSVP helped me. You see, just as an example, my elder daughter got married about 10, 12 years ago. And in the wedding, the father of the bride's speech is like necessary, right? But I couldn't do it because I was just too scared, too nervous. But my second daughter got married just 5 months ago. And when they asked me to speak, I said, sure. And you know what? So many of my family members were surprised. Hey, he can actually talk. And then also to a group of 400 people without making a mistake.
Wow.
You know, so that I feel is a highlight of my retired life. So I want to keep learning more. I want to keep achieving not monetary success, but that feeling of satisfaction. It's really good. It's awesome, I should think.
Yeah, so, you know, just as exactly that, you know, so it's not just about doing what you can with your present skills, but you can actually grow yourself and new skills. For example, in the dementia prevention program that we started, I've had senior volunteers who've become instructors in, you know, health education, in mindfulness, because we were trained for that. And so, you know, it's not just getting to know people, and you develop yourself as well.
And that's the thing. Developing self is possibly the last thing we thought when we started on our volunteering journey. I think, Gurdip, that's what you probably did not expect, that you would develop yourself and presentation skills and public speaking, and you're great at that now. We've got a caller on the phone, and if I could ask you both to put on your headphones, which are to your left and right, and just take this call. Hi, thank you for calling. May I know who's... Hi.
John Ryan.
Hello,
again.
John.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes.
What you say?
We are talking about senior volunteerism, John. Do you have a comment on that?
A good one. How many more events going on to do volunteering?
Okay, so we're going to just about come into that, John. So you've called in at just the right time. John, if you want to find out more about volunteering, Genevieve is going to tell us exactly how you can do that.
Hi, John. Thanks for calling in. We've got an open house at RSVP. RSVP is at Junction 8 on the 8th floor. So that will be on the 15th of January. That's a Wednesday from 3 to 4:30 p.m. You come for that open house and you'll be able to find out more about what we do.
Okay, John, I hope you will make time to attend the open house. Again, Wednesday, 15th of January at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This is at 9 Bishan Place, and it's served by the Bishan MRT. This is Junction 8 that we're talking about. And when you go to the open house at RSVP, John, you'll be able to find out all the activities that are available, get a chance to meet Gurdip, who's going to be there, and hopefully you'll get to meet all the other board members as well. Yeah, John, thank you very much for your question today. Thank you. So at the open house, we'll get to meet you, Gurdip, yes?
I should be there, yes.
You will be there because our listeners will want to meet you now. And will our listeners be able to find out the whole range of activities that you have on offer during the open house?
Yes, correct.
Genevieve?
So it's from befriending and guiding. We've also got training, and that's why we've even got volunteers who've become trainers, not only just participants, and also and that episodic volunteering that we were talking about earlier.
Okay, brilliant. So we'll find out more, and you can too by attending the open house. Alternatively, you can visit their website, rsvp.org.sg, and you can go in there, find out about the open house and all the activities that are available to you. And you're on Our Town Saturday. I'm Susan Ng together with Genevieve and Gurdip. We'll come back and talk more right after the news break.
CNA 938, it's 12:44, and these are the stories that we will be following in the next hour. North Korea has warned that the US will pay dearly for criticizing its human rights record. It says Washington's verbal abuse would only aggravate the already tense situation on the Korean peninsula. Meanwhile, Pentagon's top general Mark Milley says the US military is ready for anything from North Korea. Pyongyang had promised a Christmas gift if Washington does not act to ease tensions. The leaders of China and the US have touted progress in their Phase 1 trade deal, citing benefits for both countries and the global economy. US President Trump says a formal signing is being arranged, but they remain divided on other issues. Chinese President Xi Jinping has raised concerns over US interference in China's affairs in Hong Kong and Xinjiang. Hong Kong authorities have seized an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle along with more than 200 rounds of ammunition during a raid at a residential estate in Tai Po. This after officers were shot at by a live round during the arrest of a 19-year-old male suspect. No one was injured during the incident. New Zealand's mandatory buyback program of firearms has ended. The scheme had allowed gun owners to sell their prohibited firearms to the government without penalty. It was launched after the country introduced a ban on assault rifles and military-style semi-automatic weapons. Authorities say so far, over 56,000 firearms have been handed in. For headlines anytime, go to cna.asia.
Back on the roads, we have a vehicle breakdown, ECP, heading towards Changi Airport after Marine Vista on lane 4. Another vehicle breakdown, CTE, towards the AYE, Ang Mo Kio Avenue 5 exit. Couple of accidents too, one on Toh Tuck Road, heading towards Toh Tuck East after Toh Tuck Link. You're advised to avoid the right lane, that's where the accident vehicles are. And if you're travelling along the AYE, heading towards the MCE after Alexandra, there has been an accident there. Congestion all the way way until Portsdown Avenue exit, and you're advised to avoid lane 1. So if you're on the roads right now, please, I do urge you to drive safely. The time is now 12:47. Thank you for staying with us on CNA 938.
Talk to us anytime. Call CNA 938 on 669 11938.
Back on Our Town Saturday with Gurdip as well as Genevieve. We're talking about senior volunteerism, and I think the message here from both my guests are, if you're thinking about it, just go ahead and do it. And if you don't know where to go, RSVP Singapore, which is a social service agency, they're a charity, that's where you can go. And they have an open house if you want to meet and speak with someone about volunteering opportunities. The open house is on Wednesday, the 15th of January from 3 o'clock onwards. And you can visit their website to find out more. It's rsvp.org.sg. And you'll find that there are many opportunities available to you. Genevieve, what have people said to you about volunteerism and how it has benefited them?
They find that definitely one of the things would be the social factor. I think in terms of being able to be with developing their network, because one thing after you retire, for example, for those who've retired, I think it's about also avoiding, you've been in that whole hustle and bustle of life, and so that gives you something to do. It also helps them to, like we talked earlier about growing yourself and developing new skills. There's that aspect of giving back. But beyond all of that also, I think I'd like to also reference a study that shows that volunteering is not just about helping others, it helps yourself. Because there have been studies that have shown that volunteering helps to prevent, being socially active, helps to prevent cognitive decline.
Yeah, and isolation if you're all alone.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are many things that you can actually do. So when you retire, as Gurdip has tried, he traveled and you spent time with your friends, and he mentioned that he wanted satisfaction and purpose. And so your volunteers, I'm sure, would have told you that they feel happy. As Gurdip is saying today, he feels happy when he's able to lend a hand to help somebody.
Definitely. I mean, being happier, and it's also being healthier, and you wake up with it's really with a purpose.
Yeah.
It gives you something to do. And also that's why it's something that it's not just about the people who've retired, it's people like myself. And that's why with RSVP, we've also started a Retire with a Purpose initiative that targets baby boomers at the workplace before they retire.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So this involves working with really forward-thinking organizations to champion active aging. So it cultivates a culture of sharing through volunteerism at work and provides an employee engagement platform for pre-retirement. And I think it's really a call to bosses and HR people out there. I mean, even for myself, I've got my staff also involved with the Flag Day for RSVP too. So, there's just ways that you can get involved.
And of course, we are an aging population, and seniors are more than able to contribute. Gurdip, you're young yet. You're just 67. There's a long ways to go. You're active. You're more energetic than ever before, you say. And you found new purpose in life. Because
that's true.
All your various volunteer journeys, whether it's at the Heritage Gallery or at the Art Museum, at the airport, at the URA, it's given you new skills. You get to meet more and more people, and you've honed your public speaking skills now. And so that's the plus point. And then, of course, as Genevieve alluded to, seniors have the knowledge, the expertise, and the experience to share. Have you found this to be true when you're working with younger people, for example?
Yeah, it is true. It is true. Even at the various places that I volunteer, be it Changi or what, even the staff, they come and ask me, Uncle, why you want to volunteer? No pay. So I said, you won't understand, but if you reach a certain point, you will realize that money is not the only thing to look for in life. But of course, I'm not being fair to the younger group because they need to build up their nest egg, so they need to work.
Yes.
And then I find that seniors like myself, I believe, we are a lot more punctual. And when we say something, we try and keep up to our word a lot more, Because it was an incident in Changi when I was told, or was it one of the other places, that, why are you standing for so long? You can actually take cover somewhere, But that's not what we are there for. We are there because we want to be there. We have volunteered to be there, so we are not trying to skive and things like that. We're there because we want to. So we will do the best in that 4 hours that we have. If we have to meet the most number of people, we want to be where we are most helpful. We don't just want to stand at a place or go and sit somewhere and use the phone. No. We go there because it gives us a certain satisfaction, and you want to do it. So you are there to make sure that you are spending your time the best way you can.
And perhaps that's an important point that Gurdip just made. They are there because they chose to be there, and they are there to be helpful. And they weren't assigned a role. And I'm not saying at this point that young people are guilty of that, because there are hundreds and hundreds of young people, and Genevieve, you would have met them at your workplace, for example. Many millennials, 20, 30-somethings, 40-somethings, who are working, building their nest egg, and at the same time stepping forward to volunteer. Do you think, Genevieve, that when we get more and more young people to start volunteering, or at least get used to the idea of volunteering at a very young age, that they will continue this volunteering journey for a longer period of time?
I think that's what we need as a nation, really, to start this culture of volunteering from a young age. I mean, we've read about how millennials want to make an impact. Yeah. And sometimes it's about doing all the big things, but it's personal mantra I subscribe to is about making a difference. It doesn't have to be all this, huge impact things. It's small things also matter.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. If many of us come together and do many small things, we get a huge thing.
That's right. Create a cascade of things.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But to rely on one person to step in and do that one big thing, we may not be able to get that done or find that person. And on tomorrow's edition of Our Town, which is Our Town Sunday, I'm going to be meeting with 2 youth volunteers. They are young working adults who've decided that volunteering is something they must do, want to do, and have done this very, very actively. And they're with Youth Corps Singapore, with the National Youth Council. So we'll have a chat with them, and I'll put some of your thoughts to them as well to hear what they think. So as we move forward, and as you at RSVP are trying to gain more volunteers and have more people come to volunteer with you, what would you say to them? People who are listening to us and, yeah, you know what, maybe I should go do something. What would you say to them?
I think it's always a good time to start, because it's not about maybe that, it's where do you begin? So come and listen to us at the open house, and just find a way that maybe you could give back. Like I said, it is not just about helping others. In this whole process, it's actually good for your health too.
Yeah, and that's, I think, important, because all of us volunteer for perhaps different reasons, but at the end of the day, it comes down to one thing: you want to help, you want to do something, and that something is really up to you. And I think comparing with volunteerism maybe 50 or 60 years ago, the opportunities are vast, as you have shown us through RSVP Singapore, that there are many, many, many things you can do. And if you're a great cook, for example, maybe that's what you can do. Go into an organization or a charity and say, well, I'd like to cook for you, or donate your expertise to teach people how to cook. And as we move into our closing minutes of Our Town Saturday today, I'd like to ask you, Genevieve, what is your wish? What's next for RSVP Singapore?
We really want to make every senior a volunteer. I mean, considering that we've got this huge silver tsunami coming upon us, as a nation, it would be really good for us to ensure that we also keep our seniors active and healthy. And if anyone can do it, I think, RSV can do it, and also Singapore can do it. We've always punched our weight, above our weight as a small nation. We can do this.
Would you
create a spirit of volunteerism?
That's the thing. That's the word I'm looking for, spirit of volunteerism. If we have that spirit, the urge, the heart to do it, I think that's already one step through one foot through the door, and then the other foot will follow somehow when we find something that is our passion. If not, we can learn a new skill and it could be our passion. And if technology is your thing, I tell you, they've got these drone flying classes that are amazing. And how to use your iPhone to shoot a video and then edit on that video as well. Gurdip, as you continue your volunteer journey with RSVP and all the various activities that you're engaged with, share with us and our listeners your thoughts on volunteerism and what would you like to say to us so that we also can follow in your footsteps?
Well, first things first is, as a volunteer, I'm not doing anything big. I'm just giving a little bit of myself, just a little bit of my time. But I believe every little bit counts. So go out there, give a little bit of your time, a little bit of yourself too. As I said before, that feeling that you get will make you carry on doing a lot more volunteer work.
And your family has found that you're a changed person when you started to volunteer, as you say.
True. But I have to draw a line because when I was working, I had very little time with my family, my wife and kids. So now I can't be volunteering that much that my wife tells me, look, that time there's the rice bowl. Now what's your excuse? So I have to keep time for everybody.
Yeah,
but
and for myself.
But you're a happier man, and a happier man is a happier wife, happy man. You know all that, right? And the grandkids welcome you too because they're a happier granddad as well.
Definitely.
And I wish you very well in your journey as a volunteer and as a grandfather to 3 young grandbabies. So good luck with that.
Thank you.
Genevieve, the best of luck to you and to RSVP Singapore as you enter your next chapter. 2020 is almost upon us. And if you want to find out more about the work of RSVP, you can go to their website, which is rsvp.org.sg. Open house, 15th of January 2020. All those details are on their website, and you can get all of that there. Thank you once again, Genevieve and Gurdip, for being with me today.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. Genevieve Chua, who is a board member. She is their honorary treasurer as well as their vice chairperson, and she's with RSVP Singapore. And Gurdip Singh, a very active volunteer with RSVP. You too can volunteer. Want to find out more? Just visit the RSVP website. I'm Susan Ng, and this has been Our Town Saturday. Thank you for joining us. Okay, on the roads, we have an accident, KPE, towards the ECP before Tampines Road exit on lane 3.